Hey everyone, I am here. Don't tell my other clients this, but with one of my favorite clients, Lydia, and she has been able to go. So we started with her in June. We actually worked originally together like 2 years ago. She was like one of our first clients. Did a little free trial for her. We had like a massive gap, stayed in contact, and then started back up in June. June she did 8K. We actually came in start of July, and then she did 17K that month. Now we're like mid-August. She's already at 12.35K for August, and we are on the 21st. And this is in pounds as well. And she's just a solo practitioner for the moment. We're going to be changing that very soon, getting an associate in, which is exciting. And we'll go explore that definitely today. But something she's very good at is converting people, very good at her product, very good at what she does. And really, I just want to, dissect what she's doing. How is she being able to double so quickly? So yeah, welcome, Lydia. Do you want to just introduce yourself quickly?
Thank you, Dan. Really nice words.
It's been rehearsed. I've been doing it all morning. I've been just making sure I perfect it for you.
My name is Lydia Evans, and I practice in the Rhondda Valleys in South Wales. I've been the owner of the practice now for 2.5 years, after being an associate for a couple of years out of university, and yeah, it's been going really well so far. So, what would you like to know, Dan?
Yeah, I guess that the main thing is you're good at converting people. I guess walk me through your process. I know you're kind of doing a bit of a day one, day two process, but talk me through like how you're actually conducting that, maybe in like a minute or two.
So, my setup, and I've always practiced this way, is I split the consultation process in two. So we do a day one and a day two. So all I've known is how to do it that way. So the first day is they come in, we take a history, we do a chiropractic assessment where we check the posture, spinal joints, and we just manage the expectations then with that person, and then we invite them back for the second day then. So we try and do that as quick as we can, so that people are still kind of interested and still in the back of their mind as well.
Is
um
that because you're like building up quite a decent amount of, I guess, almost pain in their mind and like making sure they know how serious it is in that initial, so they still have that emotion when they come into the second day?
yeah, yeah, that's it. So yeah, we bring them in, then we invite them back for day two, and then that's when we go through all the findings, we go through the posture, we go through all the other things and relate it back to their health goals that we kind of set then in the first day. So this is why it's happened, this is how long realistically it has been going on for, this is what you're unable to do at the moment, but this is how we can change that. This is how we can achieve those goals as well. We manage the time frame kind of from the first day as well, so they got that expectation in their heads. And
So they're expecting for a decently long care plan and then maybe even seeding in maintenance a little bit.
yeah. So you kind of get a feel as well for the person when they come in, and the language that they use of, a couple of sessions and I'll be done, even though they've had like this chronic issue that's been going on for 20 plus years. But so it's planting the seeds as well then. So it's changing their perspective on the way they think about their pain, where, it's not Amazon Prime, you can't get day.
Do you use that analogy ever when you're actually in with patients?
I mean, sometimes it'll be in my table talk.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. And so that's something that you're always trying to do, break down their beliefs right from the start of when they're coming in, so they're having good expectations.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, kind of encouraging a different way of thinking. And then you can kind of see like the cogs turning. Oh, right. Okay. I didn't realize that this is actually how pain relief is. I'm always used to taking a painkiller and an anti-inflammatory, and within a couple of hours I'm fixed. I'm pain free until a couple of days, and I got to take it again. So it's kind of breaking that belief system.
Have you found like, and how are you doing that? Is it through like strategic questioning, or are you using any specific resources to do that? Like, how are you actually, because obviously it's practically sales. Like, it's one of the main skills you need to be able to do is take someone from being in point A, which is where they currently are when they come in, to point B. It sounds like you're really, really good at doing that naturally and making it not sound like you're hard closing people.
Yeah, it's just meeting the person where they're at and just guiding them through without, you know, using like forceful language or language that's scary, you know, because I know I'm not a big believer in scaring people into a plan of care. I'm more right guiding people and educating and enlightening them, you know, and leading the way. I think when you seek out help, you want someone, you know, to lead you. You want someone who's a strong leader and assertive and someone who's certain in what they're saying as well. I think that, you know, when you carry that belief that you set yourself, you know, that people will truly get well with chiropractic care, I think that's kind of half the battle then, you know, if you're kind of going in with like, oh, I
It's
don't
almost like
really,
not what you're saying, but how you're saying it as well, and like
yeah,
your energy and making sure you're converting that onto the person.
yeah, like, you know, a couple of adjustments and then we see how you go, you know, it's no, this is how long it's going to be, you know. I say sometimes as well, you know, I will be honest, and we never know until we find out how much you will improve at this point. But you know, I think as long as they know that as well, that transparency, I think that goes a long way as well. But I've been fortunate enough that I've had really great mentorship outside of uni when I first graduated, you know, going through to the clinics I used to practice in, and I've always sought out a mentor, you know, someone who I can learn from. So it's never always been this way for myself. Being in university, and as I studied in the Welsh Institute of Chiropractic, and you know they follow the six visits and then refer then if there's no improvement, you know. But physiologically, like with tissue healing times, and you know, it's a similar concept of, you know, people in chiropractic will always often use like the gym analogy of, you know, you go to the gym often, see those changes. You know, I just say, you know, the my chiropractic adjustments are between like 5 minutes as well, 5 and 10 minutes, you know, and some people again it's changing that paradigm, you know, and tell them the adjustments, you know, sometimes they last a couple of minutes each time. Little and often is how the body realistically works. Is, you know, I'd say if you was to have an exam on the Monday, would you read the whole textbook the night before? I bet some people do that. I might read the whole textbook the night before. So
Yeah, a
that
bit of procrastination or something.
but
It's very interesting because it's something that like a lot of my like, but not a lot. Like we probably have like 70% are like yourself, 30% are like 30-minute follow-ups, which is most generally what I hear from chiros is that it's not necessary. I
mhm,
bet it's more like they feel like time equals value, but it's about making sure that actually the patient's not seeing it like that. It's that the value is coming from them getting from point A to point B.
absolutely. I
Is that
think
something you're doing in the second session or seeding through the first as well?
uh so yeah, I don't really speak much in the first appointment. Manage the expectations and the outline of this is how the first appointment is going to go. You know, we've got these two objectives that we want to achieve today, and this is understanding, you know, this back pain, and then the second is to figure out if or how I can help. And a big thanks to Stefan Gospodidov as well for his guidance on these day one, day twos, you know, which have really helped me as well. So it's like outlining that and pre-framing that consultation. And you know, I remember one of my other in my other practices, you know, they said to me, Lyd, if they say they've got sciatica in their arm, you just listen. You do not correct them. You just listen.
I yeah, okay. I see like, what you mean by that. So that's so the first session you set a frame so they know what's going to take place, and then you're just listening to them, guiding it. Are you guiding it though? Of like where you want to take the conversation, so someone's not going on a tangent about talking about how their dog's got back pain as well or something.
Yeah, yeah. There are a few. There is a structure that I follow where, right, okay, so we've got the first touch point, which is pain, why they're here, which is like 90% of the time is why they're here. So, you know, they've been listened to, they haven't been interrupted, they've just had your full attention, you know, and they feel heard. And I think a lot of people would say, wow, I only had 5 minutes to explain this, to a GP, because they haven't got the luxury of having those appointments that are longer to listen. And then it's, how does this affect your day to day? So you're hitting on the emotional aspect then of, oh, actually, yeah, I'm unable to do this and I'm unable to do that. And actually, now we're talking about it, I can't actually do that anymore. So it's like that realization of like, bloody hell, it's not until I speak to someone about it, I realize the gravity of how this is affecting my day to day life. And we move on to just different points then as we go through, and then like a little bit of goal setting. That's really important, because I think you've it puts purpose to that person's journey, so they've got that vision. So Dr. Brett Jones talks about this a lot, like healing requires a vision. And I think if somebody hasn't got a goal, or a lot of people don't like the word goal, but if they haven't got that vision in mind, then it all just leaves it open-ended. So we can always attach the health goals to what they can't do, and then we can match those up. Right, you said you couldn't walk earlier, so let's start with, what would you like to, oh yeah, so yeah, I'd like to start walking again, or I'd like to be able to pick up my grandchildren, and you mentioned that you couldn't tie your shoelaces up, is that something you would like to do? Yeah, of course, yeah. So at the end, you've got a nice, firm goals that we can work towards together.
And is that what you're doing in the second session a lot? Is like really attaching what you're doing to those goals and that pain that they're feeling, and really like you're the bridge from them to get to where they are right now to where they want to be?
Yeah, so the second one then is a little bit more of myself talking, but again, not talking too much. I used to in my old practice. I think the way they were trained there as well, it was just a lot of word salad. So you would like this is connected to this nerve and that nerve does this. It's the saying, bullshit baffles brains. I think I was very aware of just trying to simplify it, because people were just like,
Did you
I don't
find
know.
that helped at all, or do you feel like now your conversion's a lot better now that you simplified
Yeah,
it?
yeah, people just want to know, like, are you able to help, and how long is it going to be, and the finances. So it's just touching on those main points, and speaking less as well, because another Tom Waller talks about the more you speak and the more you talk, the more you over explain. It's almost like you're,
Overcompensating.
yeah, and he says liars will talk all the time, to try and fill that space. So I think the less you speak, and it comes off as well as, when we talk about the psychology of communication as well, like a lot of people will pick up more body language than words. I think it's only like 7% words that you listen to, and it's the saying, people don't remember what you say but how you make them feel. So I think going in with that intention as well, and
And that's that energy you were talking about earlier on,
yeah, just
conveying that to them.
back to them in the second appointment, just to recap, what we talked about in the previous the previous appointment was, and then you rephrase it. You're not reading a sheet of paper, or you're not reading off your laptop. You're just speaking to them. I read their notes before they come in, and then I can just be able to read it off, and then it's like, oh, they really remembered everything there, and it's like, I know if I went to somewhere and somebody said that to me and they didn't even read off a screen, I'd be like, wow, that's I feel listened to. So I think there's that rapport as well. And and again, going back to Stefan, he said, you've got to break it down so simple that you're explaining the spine to your grandmother,
I
So
think,
it's
yeah,
just,
Stefan is like someone who we both know quite well. He's a coach in the chiropractic space. If anyone who doesn't know who he is, helped Lydia massively. We don't take all the credit for Lydia's success, because she was able to convert mainly because he was your main coach, right? I think that in helping with the conversion. But yeah, like making sure that, like, he's very good at making sure that, because a confused buyer never buys. A confused customer never buys. So that's why, like, making sure you just attach it to what they want, and not really going into like all that stuff you mentioned earlier about what you're doing your last practice with all the nerves. That means that they can have a lot more confidence in you, because you've been able to simplify it. Because if you can simplify it and a 5-year-old can understand you, then you really understand actually what you're talking about.
100%,
And
100%.
I guess to touch on like a little bit later on in that second session, you say you've given someone their care plan. What would you say if they say to you, oh, I just want to have a think about it?
Hmm. Yeah, so going through the objections recently, the mastermind that I'm in, they keep really talking about this, but it's so helpful that um, what are the common objectives that chiropractors have in a ROF is, oh, let me go home and speak to my partner. So they say the
Hmm.
way to tackle that is, bring your partner in for the next, for the review, because it's a lot of information and people appreciate the second pair of views, to take it all in if you miss anything. So there's that.
I
But
had a client recently who actually was like struggling with this, like figuring out how to do that. I guess how are you really like making sure that they are incentivized and actually bring in their partner at a high rate? I'm not sure what your percentages are, or if you know how many roughly bring in a partner, but how are you really like pushing them to do that? Is it just you're mentioning it, or is it in your follow-up sequence? Anything else?
yes, this is I haven't implemented it. I've started it today actually, but it's mention it in the ROF just before they leave, so they remember that bit, and then it's kind of reinforced then at the front desk, and then if it's saying right, so yeah, who you bring in next time? You bring in whoever, and then right, so we book in you and whatever the partner's name is.
And you're
So we'll see,
assuming that.
yeah, so we'll see you both on Wednesday, so that's
Nice.
that's how I've known people, other people to do it. So it'd be interesting to see how we implement that now from next week.
It's very
So
exciting that you've been able to have the success you have, but you've still got these like obvious levers that you can pull to really like grow the clinic even more and have even better conversions.
it's things that you wouldn't have even thought about before, and it's like, oh yeah, that's like one of the biggest objections is like, I speak to my partner, you know.
And so beforehand, where you just like, oh yeah, okay, no worries, and then you would it just be like a bit of a follow-up process you'd have, or you just schedule them in for like a pay as you go?
uh, no, so I yeah, if someone says, oh, can I just have a couple and see how I get on, because sometimes that can happen, not often though.
That's actually my next question as well, so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, it's rare that happens, but on the off chance, I think it's happened once this year. Um,
That's
I,
amazing, because that means you just need to be doing your. It's like if you do your day one, day two process properly, you don't need to
yeah,
handle
yeah,
objections.
yeah. So you try and pre-frame it as much as you can, so you're answering their questions before they've even thought of the questions. But yeah, if people say, "Can I just have a couple?" I'll just say, "Oh, look, it's just going to be a waste of your time, and just a waste of energy really to come here to be adjusted 2 or 3 times, because in that initial phase, I always take it back to like the gym analogy as well. It's like, doing 20 press ups, and then rolling up your sleeve and asking where your biceps are, you know. Time and repetition is how the body responds to anything. So like, if you're just gonna have three adjustments, or in the grand scheme of things, it's like spitting on a house fire, you know. And I say, but we've got all of your information here now. So if you ever choose to return, don't leave it too long, because the reactivation process. But say if you do feel that you're in a position to return, then our door is always open and we always welcome you back. Because we've got everything on file. We can just pick up where we left off if nothing major has happened in the meantime.
And do you
And
find that people then, some people pull back, but also some people will actually lean forward into that and become more committed? Because I'm like
yeah,
what you've done is you've taken a step back of authority. Like this is what I'm recommending. We don't need you because you're not desperate for it. That's kind of
yeah,
how it feels as me, someone listening to you saying that to me.
yeah. I don't know the actual stats, but there have been encounters where people have phoned up, a couple of months' time. I had a lady, it's Susan. I came a couple of months ago, but I'm ready to start now. I'm in the financial position. Paid off my son's crap windshield or whatever it is. I'm in a position where I can come back now. So it's leaving it on a nice note where you can always come back.
Yeah.
And more often than not, people will return.
Something that I've really picked up on just on this call and like generally just speaking to you because we speak every 2 weeks or so. Um, is you use analogies a lot. And like something that I've known from doing sales myself and having sales training is that people use analogies are usually quite good at sales. That's something you purposely have like done, or are you
Yeah.
is it is?
Yeah, so my first job, they were big on analogies, and Johnny Collier talks a big about analogies as well, and just from podcasts as well that aren't chiropractic podcasts, but people enjoy an analogy to better understanding. I will always relate it to their work. So if a carpenter comes in, I'll relate it to carpentry. If I don't know, like when I roofer or something, or a mechanic, I just say like sometimes they say like my issue is in my lower back lid. Why are you like looking at my neck? And I say if your tire keeps getting bald every month, you've got to keep changing the tire. Do you keep changing the tire, or do you begin to look at the axle? You begin to look at other parts of the car that could be causing that, and they're like, oh. And then another one, Sid Williams, absolute legend in chiropractic. He says, if you step on a cat's tail, where does he meow?
Yeah, wow, yeah. It's very, it's very
People
true.
people
It's
seem to, in it as a general analogy.
and is it just something that you've just like been actively thinking that and proactive about that? Oh, I need to be trying to use analogies, and that's how you've improved, or is there anything else particular you've done?
Um, to be honest, I've always used analogy from the off. When I was again straight out of uni, I was fortunate enough to be around good chiropractors in my own practice. And I was a sponge, and I still am. I think I'm nearly 5 years in now, and I'm always open, because this like 5 years is a little blip in my whole chiropractic career, and I'm just really grateful to have great mentors around me. I'm grateful to have amazing friends who are chiropractors that we can bounce ideas off, and I think
And amazing marketing
um,
people.
amazing.
I'm only kidding.
The biggest one of the biggest positive things that to have happened to the practice, to be honest, is having you guys on. It's changed massively, and I know, as we said, I was one of the OGs, you know
Yeah,
and we
yeah, helps
let
out.
go, and that was awesome as well. But I remember the reason why we had that big gap was because of my capacity in the diary, because I think I was barely a year into my own practice, and my appointments were it's mad. I've done it all. I've done the 7 adjustments in 15 minutes when I first graduated. I was a baptism of fire. So that was like, poof. And then my other practice, then they went to like 15-minute appointments, which was a little bit too. It was yeah, I just twiddling my thumbs a lot for those appointments. But then when I moved to my practice and of my own practice, I was the CA in the chiropractor, so I had to have those 15-minute appointments. I had to have 50-minute appointments for my specials. That was to margin for any errors. It was to margin for me to learn and practice how it works as a CA. It was to take payment, it was to do bookings, it was to make sure no one was walking through the door if I was in the back room, So I was like a headless chicken for the first year. Oh my gosh, 2 years. Um, but the appointments then, it wouldn't take long to fill my diary with you. So it was like, oh, I'm full now for the next couple of weeks, and I couldn't work any more shifts because you work in the business and you work on the business. So you're just like, and of course you've got to have a life as well to avoid burnout. So it was all a bit, whoa, it was a bit crazy. And then my appointments went down to 10 to 15 minutes. My specials went down to 40, so I could shave 10 minutes off just from efficiency of just practicing. And then I amazingly got a receptionist, a CA now to help, which has massively helped. So I'm in the position now where I had you back on, Fran Dan, and yes, it's been awesome. The fact that I have more capacity to see more, it hasn't felt overwhelming then, because I'm thankfully in a position now where I have got that space in my day without even increasing my hours.
Yes,
You know,
it's been really, really good to see because you've doubled in such
yeah,
a short period of time. You mentioned so many there, like me and you, but this, we could talk for absolutely hours.
and it's worth noting as well, because you hear like chiropractors talk about their stats, how many people they see in a week, how much revenue that they take, how much profit they make. But it's like, how much is that going, as a profit? How much is that going out? What are your outgoings like? If you see an X amount of people, how many clinic hours you work in? So, people speak about this in conferences, and you're just like, I think that's why it doesn't really interest me, because it's like, yeah, but there's a lot more to it than that. It's not just black and white. It's like, well, yeah, what are you doing together? What are your outgoings like? So for me, I can say, like, I work 24, 20 to 26 clinic hours a week. And that's, yeah, and we've generated 17k for the clinic together, working as a team on it, Dan, and that puts it more into context as well. Then 26-hour work weeks,
Yeah. And
active clinic hours, not to mention the stuff that I do at home, but active clinic hours where I'm adjusting and I'm serving.
rotations.
Yes, 26 hours a week, 17k, and I think that's
I think that's really interesting the way it was mentioned, kind of loops back to what you mentioned earlier about your mindset towards things. Is like, you want to know the real, like, deep down about people's clinics, and it's like that curiosity, always wanting to learn. Is that just something you've always had, like always wanting to learn and always
oh
being like
yeah,
no ego, it seems like?
yeah, curious. I'm just curious. I'm always curious about things, and you know, I, I'm always wanting to learn as well. I've always been that way. I'm just seeing if I can have my perspectives changed. The things that we talk about today, I might talk about differently next year. I can never speak in absolutes, but I only speak for what works for me right now. That could change. And
Very, very wise.
yeah, and I'm open to that. I like to be as adaptable as I can in practice. And I got principles that'll never change, but I can change my perspective around that if it means, the growth of the business improves. I can take myself out of that.
I love that mindset. That's really, really good. It's very, that's was that something that you got from Stefan, or was that something that you just kind of developed over the years, and just that's your fundamental paradigm towards life and business?
I've been like this since a kid. I know it sounds a bit mad, but I've never been set in my way with anything, and like, if people get into, I never get myself into debates or whatever, but if I get into a conversation where somebody says something to me, I'm always willing to change my mind about something. So
Very,
yeah,
very, very interesting.
yeah. I've
Okay.
always been, where, like, I don't know, in a conversation where you've got headstrong people and like, no, it's this way, and it's only ever this way. It's like, there's no give in that. So I just being adaptable is, I think, is what I suppose is a good way to be, is adaptable, in my opinion.
I had a mentor who's actually one of Stefan's main mentors as well. His name's Charlie Morgan, and it's
Hmm.
like the non-binary thinking paradigm. Seems like you
Hmm.
can, like, there's probably, like you mentioned, there's some things, like these fundamentals that you just do not waver from, but the rest of the stuff you're always open to it, so that you can, like, be like water, almost like what Bruce Lee said, like,
Yeah,
just being like water, and then that means you can probably make quicker decisions and move quicker than other people in business, because you're not stuck to this paradigm and like your own sense of self.
absolutely. But
Um,
but saying, well, Dan, I am a bit of a sleep on it kind of gal, and I know I'm aware of that in business. Is, like Ryan Ryder says, move fast and make a mess. And I'm one of those. Oh, it's got to be perfect, and that's one of my downfalls. That is a big vulnerability and a flaw of mine, where I like to sleep on things. Like, I've told you about this before.
yeah, I know. I actually remember now. Yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah.
Are you actively trying to change that? Because obviously the first way to fix it is awareness. You've seen that you've got that, but it is very, very important. Like, we're actively doing that in our business as well. Like, trying to move with speed, make a mess, because that's how you
Mm.
can move really fast. Is
It's
that something
definitely,
that you're?
it's a practice, isn't it? I think it's something that you just improve and get better. But I
Yeah,
think awareness is a good start. But I mean, it's all well good having the awareness, but you've got to act on that awareness as well. So I am acting on it. But yeah, I think if you've been so set in your ways for so long, it's like training yourself out of that.
I
Not
think that you are getting better at it though, because like on our first, obviously we had spoken before, so you already really knew, like, and trusted the company. But you did buy on that first call with me. We had an hour chat, and then you committed to it. But it is something that I hear a lot on calls as well. Everyone's like, oh, and I hear it on certain sales calls that I'm doing. Obviously, try and handle the objection of time to think. I want to have a think about it.
Mhm.
But it's just one of those things that you need to, if you want to move fast in business, you need to be able to make quick decisions. It's like us in our company, we just increased our advertising spend. We spend 4.5K a month on ads.
Mhm.
But like not thinking about it or getting worried about it, just spending it and just going and moving, because that's what's
Yeah.
going to make you move faster than everyone else.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me with that was, in my previous job, I had to leave, my hand was forced. I would have loved to have stayed in as associate for longer, for a couple of more years to learn. But, the situation was I had to, I had to go, and I didn't really have much, I didn't save up much reserves. And that was like a big risk of, right, this is space has come available. Let's go up, have a look at it tomorrow. Yeah, loved it. Right, let's begin. Started that. The only thing I had was my laptop and my one bench. That's all I started with. And my mortgage just got accepted as well. So all the bills were coming out, my utilities, my mortgage,
Was that a
everything.
mortgage on your house?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So it was sink or swim, It was that moment of like, it's got to work. It has to work.
I think that a lot of entrepreneurs have that sort of stage where backs against the wall and it really sees like what you're made of.
Mm.
Obviously, it's definitely worked out well for you now. I know we haven't got much more time, Lydia, but as I mentioned, we could definitely speak for hours on end. What is one key thing that you kind of wish you knew? Because I don't know, maybe some associates are watching this, or someone who's a little bit earlier on in their practice, or just generally anyone that you wish you knew before you really started, like maybe with the marketing side of things, or when you started your own practice, something like that.
Hmm. I mean, it's definitely changed a lot as I've been maturing through chiropractic. But something I wish I knew, I suppose, when I first started was, I mean, I don't want to put a dark, a bit of a Debbie down there, but it's just having discernment, because you go on to meet a lot of different people, and it's, I think a big flaw of mine is believing that people are good people and a lot of people are not. And I think it's just that naivety that I had, even though I was a mature student graduating. I just I think if you are a good person deep down, you just believe others are. And I think for me it was just having that discernment of, right, this is who I can put my trust into, but this, I'm going to be a bit weary with this person. I think I've been burnt a lot, and although it's a part of my story, but it shaped me of who I am today, and it's made me a stronger person, but it's really helped to hone in on my discernment skills, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, probably
And
that's
where do
not.
people need? Is it like, say you're an associate, you need to go and like who you're going to work for, or is it like, well, I guess is it everything? Just like who you're going to partner with a marketing partner, or who you're going to have as a CA? It's just absolutely who you're going to get coached by.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, it's a big world, and it's just, yeah, it's just having that trust in the right people, I guess. Yeah,
Hmm.
just trusting the right people, and just having that discernment of who the good people are. And
Amazing.
another thing is, uh, reading, and really honing in on chiropractic philosophy. Uh, I find the more books that I read, the more that I delve into the philosophy, the more certain I am in practice, the more questions that I can answer, the more I can educate and speak with a chiropractic lens on everything without veering away from chiropractic where I'm talking about, oh, we tried this exercise, oh, that's all very like relative, but I don't fall back into that too much because I always keep it into the principles to never change. and the philosophy.
Who are
Those
the
are
people should be reading?
so definitely the Joseph Strauss books. So those are like a good place to start if you haven't read anything. Chiropractic philosophy, like the chiropractic textbook as well. A lot of Fred Barge books as well. So Are You the Doctor, Doctor? Yeah, so those are good books to start with.
Amazing. Really,
Yeah.
really, really, really helpful stuff, Lydia. I really appreciate you coming on. One last thing, and it's where you sell our product for us. But I guess just a couple things about how have you actually found your experience so far working with us at Align Flow?
I think the first word that comes to my mind is smooth. Everything has just been so smooth. The communication between you and Francesca, myself, you know, any question that I have, you can answer straight away. Anything that, any requests that I have, you know, you fulfill that need. The as far as the bookings, because you guys have been taking the bookings for me and booking people in my diary. I've never had like anyone external like that doing anything like that for me. And I would say I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I was a bit like, oh, how is this going to be? But it's been really good. It's been like people have been booked in, people have been coming in. They said that they've been speaking to you and Francesca, and really you've been really helpful. And just how smooth the diary is. You understand, you understand Ora Chiropractic. You understand the values. You understand how my diary works and how we work here, how me and Lily work. And you're like that extension. It's like an extension, but you're in England,
Yeah.
and I don't know, you seem like you're here with us, in the building, because that's how close that relationship is. And it's nothing. I've never come home and I've been like, oh, I feel stressed. It's just taken such a load off my shoulders, and it's just been easy. I haven't felt really burnt out, although I've had a huge influx of news. But it's just been awesome. It's been such a good experience. Yeah.
I
And
think
I'm
I remember
really,
on our last meeting you mentioned that was just like new patients and acquisition was the only thing you really didn't have time to put, like you just didn't have much time. And so then like us taking this off your plate has just massively helped. And obviously the results kind of speak for itself on that side of things.
and going back to what we were talking about earlier was, what the generated income of the clinic, and okay, well, all right and good, you generating all that, but how much is that going out, and how much is that going on to stuff that you don't really need, or like, but with you guys, proposing your plan and the value, and I put that into you guys, and then I've had it back in abundance.
Yeah. And
And
also like I remember the other day we were speaking about as well, building your war chest so that then you can make best decisions long term. So it's not just that we're just here to help you get new patients, we're also helping you think long term about I'm working with you, helping you get the associate. Obviously Stefan's doing most of that, but making sure that that process goes as smooth as possible, because that's coming in the next few months.
yeah, and that as well, Dan. Yeah, like, because although I have great mentors, and I'm here. The one thing that's changed for me, like going from an associate to a practice owner, not having any associates here, is like having those soundboards. Like I've got those chiropractic soundboards, and it's refreshing to have you as a soundboard who's someone who's really good at marketing. That you can part your wisdom and advice onto me. And teaching me things as well. I've been really grateful for it.
Yeah, that's what I love about business, is that everyone could be specialists in what they're good at, and then just everyone can grow way faster that way, rather than everyone just being a generalist, being spread so thin. So you can just do what you do best. I do what I do best. My accountant does what they do best. Likewise with yours, probably, because I wouldn't want to be doing what my accountant does.
Yeah, exactly. You can always learn something from anyone that you meet. Whatever background they're in, and
Definitely.
I think it's the art of listening, isn't it?
Yeah, you can learn a lot from just listening to people. What would you say to someone who's considering but is a little bit unsure, a little bit on the fence, having a bit of a time to think about it?
Just do it. Like, just go for it. You've literally got nothing to lose. You haven't got anything to lose.
Great.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And Well, that is the amazing interview with Lydia coming to a close. I know probably everyone's want us to keep going. We could probably talk for hours. I had so many things like you went for, you spoke for a bit, and I was just like, oh, we could go down that avenue, that avenue. But maybe another time, maybe in a year or something, we'll do a part 2 once you've got an associate and stuff. But
Yeah.
amazing, Lydia. I really appreciate you jumping on. Any final words, or I'll let you get back to your day.
I'm really grateful for you. You know, I really appreciate what you and Francesca have been doing for me over the past few weeks, and you know, you've helped me. You've helped me a lot. So thank you.
You are very, very welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you so far. Looking forward to working with you for much, much longer.